Gitaly. In Content SMP, it's the organisation most infamous for having members that are peaceful and serene. However, this also nets the stereotype of them being weak. And while I don't think Sylvia should keep on trying to 1v1 windsweep unprepared, for her safety, not his, there is one member of Gitaly I see great potential in, Bonfire. Bon is an incredibly skilled pixel artist and skin creator. Not exactly the first thing you would think of when you envision a skilled combatant, but hear me out. The strategies used by her in the two most recent fights against Windsweep have netted hugely successful results, even if they did not cause a win. So today, I'm going to be taking you through why I think that Bonfire has cracked the CSMP PVP meta. Hi, I'm Photon. If at any point you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. It's super quick to do and I would appreciate a ton. Now on with the strategies. In vanilla Minecraft PvP, webs are the largest factor on what strategies are viable and which are not. That's how huge of an impact the mere threat of your opponent using webs is. In Content SMP, I would even go as far as to argue that they are even more threatening. If you're a huge nerd like me, you'll probably have noticed one of the largest factors on why someone wins or loses a fight is their movement. That's why Defile, Rat's mods with the Inklings, is such a powerful mod and why the Amorite Longsword Accumulate is so strong. One pushes your movement to an entirely new plane of existence, the other makes it so that your opponent's movement is completely at your fingertips whenever the charge is available. Webs do what Accumulate does, but cranked up to 1000. Sure, setting up a web when everyone is moving at Mach 20 is not exactly an easy task, but when they do work, your opponent is completely stationary for as long as it takes for them to break it, which, if you set it up right, is 2 seconds, or alternatively, and more likely, when they perish, because 2 seconds is like an eternity in Content SMP PVP. Bon uses webs incredibly well in the first Gitaly vs Windsweep fight, where she managed to secure a kill on him using this web, showing that even Windsweep, the self-proclaimed strongest player with a mastery over the mod, falls to this. And I don't doubt these titles are true, but that just goes to show how good a well-placed web can be. Gitaly doesn't kill Windsweep with webs alone, however. They also used... Number 2. Darts. Darts are an incredibly interesting weapon for me. On one hand, they're hard to hit, and even when you do hit it, an opponent's totem popping will cancel the effect. On the other hand, when you do hit darts, they have incredible value, offering some of the strongest debuffs on the entire server. This dichotomy means that I think for an inexperienced player, they offer incredibly low value, as you may not be able to capitalize very well off them, assuming you even hit the shot. But with some aim labs and learning a touch of death setup, you can take totems like they are nothing. When you get into the right scenario, of course. But what is the right scenario? Well, normally, the right scenario would be if your opponent is in the air and has used all of their movement ability stamina, so Gale, Strafe, Dash, etc., as they have no way of avoiding your dart. Alternatively, if you want to know the easiest way to get a sure hit, put your opponent in a web. That's right. As you remember from the last segment, your opponent becomes stationary and no longer able to dodge a projectile when in a web. Once again, Bon uses this in the first Gitaly vs Windsweep fight, using the torpor effect. If you don't know your frog poisons off by heart, then let me enlighten you. Every one of the frogs gives a status effect that is either really broken, or is the stimulation effect. Really, we should be happy this mod only has one miss, as the rest are really good. The 3 I think are viable are Comatose, Torpor, and Vulnerability. Comatose makes your opponent completely inactionable, however, they regenerate health at a ridiculous rate to compensate. Vulnerability does pretty much what it says on the tin. It makes opponents more vulnerable, meaning that they take more damage. By how much, you ask? 50%. Yeah, you heard me. 50 freaking %. You're probably staring slack-jawed at your device right now. 50%? How can this be balanced, you might ask? Unfortunately, it's not really. But when popping a totem, you will clear the effect, meaning that it doesn't have much killing potential unless your opponent has already popped a totem. Unlike Torpor. Torpor is a whole different beast in my opinion. The effect? Disables all healing. Saturation? Nope. Comfort? Nope. Okay, surely regeneration won't be... Nope. No healing at all. None of it. This is Bond's choice here, as Windsweep is stuck in a web at middling HP. However, he can't just sit and eat his fancy notch apples and sing Kumbaya now. He dies because of this. However, there's one scenario where Torpor is even more dangerous. Did you know that when a totem pops, it sets HP to half a heart? Yes, to compensate for the fact that the totem sets your HP to half a heart, it has crazy regen. However, if you predict when your opponent's totem is going to pop, or you have good enough reaction speed, you can catch them before the regen is done. And with precise timings, your opponent can just be stuck with half a heart, and immediately die when you remove their absorption hearts. There is one last thing that Bond does in combat. While it doesn't score a win, heck, it's hardly even noticeable to the viewer, it makes Windsweep have to morph his entire playstyle around it. That is, of course, number 3, disarm. Enchancements is a mod with many enchantments. While by no means are they all created equal, go and tell that to Delay. Some really promising ones seem to get neglected because of their weird situational value only. Heck, I've already made a video on Torch of all enchantments, and why it's actually busted, which you can check out after this video is done. Disarm is one of these, I would say, to the point where I had completely forgotten of his existence, even though it seems really like my kind of thing. Disarm is simple. It steals or disables whichever item your opponent is holding at the time of being hit, making the item completely useless with swords not even being able to hit, literally their only job. This enchantment may seem like it would have some sort of significant drawback, like needing to replace another broken enchant. No. Maybe it goes on a high cooldown weapon, so you can't use it often. Wrong again. It goes on fishing rods. The only disadvantage is that you look like an idiot for having a fishing rod in a combat inventory, but that is well worth the advantage. So how do you use it? I found 2 feasible strategies for it. Number 1, tridents. When an opponent is charging a trident, hitting them will make them cancel the pulling back stage and go back to nothing, while making sure they can't use it for a bit, hopefully allowing you to close the gap on a zoning opponent. Number 2, the cool way. Ever heard of attribute swapping? It's a strategy where you can have the additional effect of items on different items. By swapping items at the right time while swinging, most commonly a sword, you can get the additional effect of whatever item you swap to, normally in vanilla Minecraft a mace, while still having the damage of your sword. In this case, you get the damage of a sword while disabling your opponent's item with your fishing rods. I don't think I need to explain why this is broken. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. In the second fight, Bond uses this strategy while also sprinkling in some extra random ones to throw Windsweep off. While this works in the short term, over time people will begin to adapt and will be able to avoid getting hit or pushed away and not be able to be hit or affected by these random hits. Still, this strategy means that Windsweep is constantly able to get off normally safe and impactful tridents used for getting huge damage and combo potential, and then it being taken away from him because he got hit by a fishing rod. So, I would say that the strategy is a success. In conclusion, I would say that this shows 3 things. 1. The meta of CSMP PVP is not solved and is flexible. You can still use weird, wacky and fresh ideas and have great success with them. 2. Gitaly is not completely done for. I think with more new thinking like this and a bit of practice, they could be a pretty notable force within the CSMP. And 3. Bonfire is an incredibly creative and talented strategist, and I look forward to seeing more ideas like this in the future. I'd like to thank you for sticking around until the end. I greatly appreciate you, and of course, go and check out Bond's YouTube, Blue Sky and Twitch. She's a great creator and a fantastic artist. And, as always, have a lovely rest of your day.